Which shul are you in? I'm with Woolwich. Almost running steps, so he's asking. So I used to go there in Walmart and I would meet him in Detroit. I don't remember Walmart well. Morris, sure. Oh, wow, very strong. Yeah. So, I remember Walmart introduced me to a girl supplies. Oh, the famous one of that. Yeah. I don't practice. I used to. I like you, right? You come with me one. Everyone.
Ashrei ha'ish shelo halach v'tzas v'shoim v'derech ha'to'im lo imad v'moshav leitzim lo yoshav ki im v'saras Adonai chefzo v'v'saraso ye'ager yomon v'loyla v'yok eit shasol al pal mimoyim asher pirio yitain bi'ito v'oleo lo yibol v'chol asher yasel yatzliach v'kein harashuim kim kamot asher titfenu ruach v'kein lo yokumu rashuim amishbad v'chato'im adas tzadikim ki yodei Adonai derech tzadikim v'derech rishoim toved. We are here today to pay our respects to a very, very fine, sweet, unassuming man. Dennis, otherwise known as Daniel Yitzchak ben Gershom, Dennis Mendelson, of blessed memory. I'm finding it very eerie. I'm looking here at a picture that they gave me in the card, and I feel like he's literally looking and smiling at me as we talk. I had the privilege of getting to know Dennis and his dear wife, Stephanie, and their family. Dennis loved his children, his grandchildren, took much pride in their accomplishments, special relationship that he had with his wife Stephanie. Their love, admiration, and respect for each other was very, very special. Dennis used to love to come to shul, sometimes for davening, sometimes even for a class. I know it bothered him lately that he wasn't able to come, that he wasn't up to it, and he would sometimes share that with me when I would come by to visit, that he really felt bad that he just was not able to do so. But I want to focus for a moment on a special attribute or a midah that I think I feel Dennis had. There's an old question that's asked. Our rabbis tell us that after 120 years, when we face the heavenly court, the Talmud in two different places tells us of a question that's asked of us. In one place it says to us, it says, Kavata itim la Torah, did you find you have set time to learn Torah every day? That's one of the questions we're asked after 120. Yet, in another place in the Talmud, it tells us, Nasata v'nasata b'emunah, did you conduct your business with integrity and honesty? Two different questions. So the obvious question is, which one is it? Is it the fact that a person can go back and say 120 that I tried to study Torah when I could? Or does it mean that I was conducting myself in honesty? What is the answer to the question? It seems to be a contradiction in terms of what, in fact, is the question that we are asked when we face the heavenly court. And I heard recently an answer to this question. I was trying to figure out this morning where I heard the answer, but I remember hearing this answer recently, or maybe I read it. That in truth, there is no contradiction. In truth, after 120 years, one of the questions we'll be asked is, did we find time in our daily lives to find some time to study Torah? On the other hand, if a person doesn't conduct himself with a sense of honesty and integrity, it almost makes the Torah learning meaningless, because if he doesn't use his life in a correct and honest way, then that Torah learning won't have much meaning, because our lives are all about our integrity, our honesty, and how we act, how we conduct ourselves with others. And therefore, in truth, it's not a contradiction. One place is telling us maybe the official question that is asked, but the truth is it's based on a certain basic principle. The principle is that we live lives of honesty and integrity and midos tovos, and having good attributes. And when I was thinking about this, I figured this really defines Dennis. He was just a sweet, nice, unassuming kind of person. He didn't have any airs about him. As we like to say, he was low maintenance. He wasn't a person who stood on honor or covet, a person who loved everyone who came in touch with him, whether it was at home, whether it was in shul or anywhere else, was taken by him. This is a sweet, unassuming person, but a person of honesty and integrity, a person who stood by what he said, he was committed to what he did, and that's the way he raised his family, and that's the life that he lived. And although we would have loved to have had Dennis around for a lot longer, but as the rabbis tell us, his days, he had arichas yamim, not arichas shanim. He didn't live a long life. He didn't live the privilege of being at a funeral the other day for a woman who lived to the age of 100 years old. He didn't have that blessing, but he lived arichas yamim. Every day was meaningful. Every day he contributed, whether it be to his profession, to his work, when he would come to shul, his davening, his relationship with God, his relationship with his family, his relationship with people. So every day was meaningful. So yes, he may not have lived quantitatively a long life, but lived qualitatively a very long and meaningful, a beautiful life. I'd like to turn the floor over first to ask Stephanie if she'll say a few words, and then Josh will say, and then we have the honor of having Rabbi Coldman from Columbus will be sharing a few words with us also. So Stephanie, if you'll please come forward.
I wanted to take a few minutes to speak today because many of you here knew Dennis very well. I'm sure my Columbus and past friendships might be watching this. But I think it's nice at this point in life to kind of reflect back on the person that we chose to be with and what kind of person that became throughout our lifetime. And what I wanted to share today was what came to my heart was when I met Dennis many years ago, we were just kids, teenagers, and we had a great love of creating a family. And how I think of Dennis today and will always be in my heart is he was family first. He cherished the whole concept of growing together, creating a family of friendships, a family life in the community. And what we did when we committed ourselves to marriage is we made that commitment together. And that's who he really was. He was an honest, unassuming, ethical, very moral, very straight arrow. And I knew at that time that I'd really found my soulmate. And I think at the end of a journey, it's very enlightening to know that you really led a life with a soulmate that through thick and thin, he was there for his grandfather, his mother and father, his extended cousins, and all the little friends and religious people that he was able to connect with over time. And he was an avid learner. Dennis wanted to learn about religion, about history, about various growth opportunities in the community, and he volunteered everywhere. So I think the memory I would like to share at the end of what this has been as a long life journey is that should really be remembered for his love of life. And it wasn't just love of life in his professional world. It was love of life in meeting with those who love to live life, like Rabbi Coltman, who's here today, and many of the family members and community members that he was touched by and went out for his adventures to build something new or create a new congregation or help in a school, which he did later in life when he wasn't so busy with his work life. So that's what I really wanted to share. And also that we've been blessed. I think God gave us a beautiful family, wonderful grandchildren, an opportunity to help them grow into the future. And Dennis did that. I know that I'm a part of all that, but he had boundless energy for it, and boundless energy to get our boys and our extended family members the support that they needed. So that's what I wanted to share today, and I'll turn this over to my son Joshua.
First of all, I wasn't planning on speaking, but I woke up this morning and I knew my dad would want me to speak. So bear with me if I'm, crying a little bit. But in any case, I've been told I'm good at ad-libbing speeches. I've given a few speeches just without preparing, but I couldn't do that for this one. There's just too much I wanted to say. First, I want to say, if I leave anyone off the speech, I'm sorry. I could write forever, but about the good things my dad did for people in his lifetime. My dad and I, we had a special relationship. He understood me, and there are things that I could tell him, fears, moments that shed tears, happy moments, or just relaxing, shooting the breeze moments, watching TV. A lot of times just being around each other was just enough. My brother and I, we like to tease my dad a lot. I love to tease him. We just had fun with it. And in a way, for me, it was an easy way of just communicating him that everything was okay. And when I wasn't teasing my dad, he knew something was wrong, and he would usually talk to me about it. He always worried about me until the end of his life. Growing up and raising me was not easy, whether it was when I got in trouble at school, which was a lot, or I lost my temper, or I said something I felt guilty about. My dad was always there to come to the rescue. One of the last moments was this past Thanksgiving. I really wanted him to have a good Thanksgiving, and he wasn't doing well that night, and we knew it was nearing the end. He kind of went off into the other room. Sarah was with him, and making sure he didn't fall out of his wheelchair because he kept trying to get up, and I heard him, and he was worried that I was taking too much food because he was worried I would be unhealthy or gain too much weight. And he always worried about me, no matter what. Growing up, my family we were very wealthy. My dad, he always stayed the same, He never judged people. He never looked down on them. And he truly just cared about people. He tried to help people when they needed them, whether it was financial or with his words, or most importantly with his actions. In terms of caring and kindness, people keep coming up to me and saying they love my father. People I didn't even know he was as connected to, or just anybody that just knew him. He was such a kind man, And the truth is that they're right. One story I can think of, this is an incredible story. I have a lot of them, but I started working at the virtual schoolhouse. I don't know if any of you remember. Started over East Cleveland. Malcolm worked there. And I needed a job. I got a job teaching math. And these kids came from poor backgrounds, violent backgrounds, you name it. Come to school angry, who knows. And one thing that they appreciated was just acts of kindness and genuine teaching. That's what kids generally do. Shortly after working there and helping them learn math, my own students, and even my own students, and even some just random students in the building, would just come up to me and rave about my dad, say he was the greatest. Well, I knew that, but how did they know that? Some of the things that they used to say were, he was so kind. He used to draw pictures for me in art. He made origami for me. And many of them would even just pull things out that they just kept, in their backpacks and show me. It's as if overnight I became a hero in their eyes. And my dad was just really talented. I mean, I knew things, but I just, upon his death, just thinking about it, the totality of it, he accomplished a lot. He was a successful business owner. He took over for my grandfather's carpet and tile business and grew the business a lot. But what he grew the business with was trust and relationships. And he had ethics. And he was kind to his workers. People loved him. There were times when we would hear about workers who would steal from him, and he would give them second chances because he believed in people, that they had a kind heart. This is another crazy story. I remember hearing a story from my dad also. One day he was driving to work, and he saw one of his upper management guys just running for his life and dived into a dumpster. And shortly after, another one of his employees, which was a really big guy, chasing him down the street. My dad knew this must be the fact that this person was being let go. I don't know what the upper management said to him, but obviously wasn't as kind as my father would have been. I don't remember the reason, but it must have been a good one, because my father never let people go without cause. Seeing this giant of the man running, my dad was able to get the worker to come into his car and calm him down. My dad was kind to this worker, and this worker knew it. He could have easily just attacked my dad, but that didn't stop my dad from trying to help him do something that he would regret, even though he told my dad at the time he didn't care if he went to jail. What's a few years? My dad eventually calmed him down because he respected my dad. That's just one example of many at his company. My dad was an athlete. He was a great diver in high school. He hurt his eardrums diving, so he didn't let that keep him down, and he transitioned to being a trampolinist in college. At Ohio State, he holds some records. He was very good. And he was also an expert racquetball player. Another story he told me, one of his friends said he could beat him in racquetball. My dad wasn't a bragger or whatever, said, okay, Gave him a 20-point lead, games played to 21, and he gave him the serve. If you win the serve, you win the match, and my dad ended up winning the match. He was going to give him $1,000 if he won. My dad was he was good at what he put his mind to in everything that he did. I just remember the amazing vacations that we took. Disney World, we stayed in a tree house. Just used to carry me on his shoulders. I remember that. The little wax figures, I don't know if they still do them at Disney. I tried to look for them when I went there, but I didn't see them. Hilton Head, Naples. He always spent time with his family. He could have gone anywhere. He had money. He could have left. He could have done whatever he wanted to do, and he always wanted to be with us. He was a really avid collector of things. He collected coins. I just remember as a kid just looking on with wonder, and he would just shine and polish these coins, and he had these magnifying glass that he would look through, and he built one of the finest, if not the finest, large scent collection in the world at one point. There's even a book called the Dennis Mendelson collection out there. He eventually sold his collection. He also collected fountain pens and learned how to use them. He had all sorts of Israeli postcards he got into. He collected shells. I mean, I remember going to Naples and he would spend hours on the beach just looking at this one particular shell, and then later on he started buying shells and categorizing them. Like, he was a really good organizer. He scrapbooked. He made photo albums for my children. He's got every photo album at the house categorized. He collected many rare books, even historic yarmulkes. He just, whenever he took an interest in something, he wanted to know it to the fullest. I was just talking to Rabbi Tuchman this morning and just saying if he would have grown up religious, he probably would have been an amazing Talmud Chacham in terms of learning, because when he committed himself, like, he knew everything. He loved music. I talked about art, but he knew every classical music. I mean, I remember when we would watch Jeopardy, if a category of classical music came up, he would get every single question. Even if it was just the music playing, he knew everything. He loved entertainment, and my grandfather was a pianist, and he just loved TV. He loved Hollywood, but he didn't love all the stuff that went along with it. But he loved the industry. He loved that stuff, and he loved Israeli history, and he liked to learn about the Holocaust. Those are just a few things. I mean, there's millions of things that he was interested in. When he took an interest, it was like he was OCD in learning anything about everything and anything about the topic. He loved to read books, and his first passion in life was to be a teacher, which is interesting because I became a teacher, and I almost wanted to become a businessman, so it's almost like we flipped the other way. After he sold Duratile, later on he worked as a tutor for Columbus Public Schools. He taught a Holocaust class for Chabad House in New Albany. He taught around here in Cleveland. He worked at the Hebrew Academy in Mosdos. People used to tell me all the time how much they love my dad. And he also helped tutor at the Tree of Knowledge. And anywhere he went, kids and staff and everyone else loved him. In terms of becoming religious, we weren't religious growing up. My parents, we cared. We went Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. And around 7th grade, my parents built a house out in New Albany. We cared deeply about being Jewish. And I remember hearing my father growing up talking about Cleveland, the old Cleveland, and hearing stories and wondering about my great-grandfather, Morris Mendelson, and sort of wondering what it would be like. My brother and I, Aaron, we went to Sunday school and Hebrew school, but we hated every minute of it. I internalized almost none of it, because we didn't really live it, But it still was there somewhat. I remember getting my bar mitzvah and just saying, man, I'm relieved. My Jewish experience is over. A lot of kids say that aren't religious. Or around 1996, Chabad managed to find our family. Rabbi Kaltman, sorry if I embarrass you, but I will never forget Aryeh and Levi coming out to teach Torah and playing ping pong with me and my dad. Aryeh was the energetic one, hitting smashes into our faces with just energy that he gave when he tried to help us become religious and just love Torah. And Levi and Druzier was the calmer, quieter one, more polite, hitting the ball with some, finesse. I also remember Levi getting lost one time. He was coming to our house in New Albany. We moved to a couple different houses. And there was no cell phones, and he ends up calling us from a payphone at a restaurant called Hoggies to get directions. Not exactly the most kosher place, but there was nothing around. It was a community being built. And this began a journey of seeing those who were religious in a different light. and being embraced into religion. I really owe everything to it because my family today has come out of it. I also just remember how happy they were to welcome my family into their homes. Watching Aviva and Esther and their kids treat us like family. That was really the first sort of transition to becoming religious. I became religious before my family, but they were on their journey the way they went it. The second event, which really pushed my father over the edge into really taking on the religion, was saying Kaddish for his parents. As far as I know, he never missed one day for 2 consecutive years. Both my grandfather and grandfather died back to back. I remember how nervous he was. He didn't want to make a mistake, and he practiced, he stumbled, but in the end, he got it. And now here I am with the same fears, but I'll do my best to make him proud. Financially, my dad was a giver. I'm sure there are countless people he financially gave over the years. A few that stick out in mind. He financially supported his parents when they were in Florida, making sure they had a place to live and money. Giving a carpet donation to the Chabad house on campus, and helping Sarah and I when we first got married. He always gave. My dad retired early, and even when my parents didn't have the same level of money that he did growing up, and they were struggling at times, he always found a way to help when we needed it. In terms of his grandkids, my dad loved his grandkids. Oh boy. He always wanted to make them happy. My kids have all sorts of things he made for them. Cartoon caricatures, pictures on their walls. He painted rocks for them, just to name a few. When my girls Leah, Chaya, and Tobu were younger, he drove them to school every Sunday for years, and he would bring them up. He'd take them to Unger's, and he would get them a pastry and a donut every single Sunday. He didn't have to drive them. He wanted to drive them. He just loved to please and make them happy. My children adored my father. His grandkids in Israel, my brothers, Aaron's children, Kenara and Yarden, loved him tremendously. Even as his memory was fading, he kept talking about Kenara and how talented she was at singing. And he got to see Yarden, who flew in from Israel just a few weeks and stayed by his side while my exhausted mother slept and others of us had to work. A couple of weeks ago, my father was very sick, and we were told it wasn't going to be much longer, but that there could be a bounce back. And I remember my dad lying in bed, and he didn't look good. I called Ray Bernstein, hoping that it'd give my dad some energy. My dad loved guests. I mean, he used to sit out there on the porch in East Carroll, and he'd see people and bring them over, call them over, do a l'chaim, say hello. It gave him energy. So I remember saying to my dad, the rabbi's here, you got to get up. And lo and behold, he just shot up. I was shocked. And we got a rebound for a few days. This allowed for us to have one of the last pleasant memories. It was a meal for my daughter Tova's birthday. I remember my dad struggling, but still managing to wheel his wheelchair over to get those mechanical bugs for my son that Moshe would play with. My girls played with them when they were younger, but he loved to just play with them and get them toys, little trinkets. And he always, whenever they came over, he would make sure to have something new. Draw with them, artwork, you name it. He could draw anything. He used to get so much pleasure watching and playing with my kids. Even in all his pain, he was always giving with love. To his daughter-in-law, my dad, he loves Sarah like his own. When I first came home after a weekend spending with Sarah, knowing me, it's like all or nothing. And I said to my parents, this is the one. My dad, of course, was worried. As soon as he saw her and got to know her, he knew she was special. And he welcomed her into the family. He also had a soft heart for the Lippmans, Marla, beloved memory, Martin, Aaron, and their families. He loves seeing families grow. And I look forward to sharing my memories with my family, and God willing, my grandkids one day. He was a devoted husband. My mother and father were high school sweethearts. They were devoted to each other their entire marriage. They both understood each other, and that's what makes a successful marriage. It's not gifts. It's not all those things. It's, do you understand each other? Even near the end, when my father was in a lot of pain, he still found a moment to grab my mother's hand and kiss it. And he appreciated her devotion until the end. Don't worry, Dad. I'll take care of Mom, or we all will. Dad, I will always think of you forever. Even at the very end, when you were in the hospital, you tried to open your eyes and give me a hug. Reach out to me. And I'll always miss you. Love, your son, Josh.
Coleman.
The famous Rabbi, the Chidah, on the 28th day of the month of Iyar, he had a special feast. He celebrated because on that very day, a Sefer Torah, a holy scroll from the time of Ezra was found. My friends, on May the 17th, 1947, a very special neshama, a soul, was found in this world, our beloved friend, Dennis Mendelson. Everything that happens in this world happens for a purpose. Nothing is random, nothing is by chance. When Dennis passed away, we read in the Torah of how Shimon and Levi, Simon and Levi, they went to revenge, to capture their precious sister Dinah, who was taken captive. They actually decimated the city of Shechem of Nablus. And if you look in the Talmud, in Masechta Nazir Chavtes Amud Beis, if you look over there, there is a Rashi, and the Rashi is fascinating. The Rashi in Nazir Chavtes Amud Beis says that from here, from the fact that the Torah uses the word ish, man, we learn out that when you become bar mitzvah, you are 13 years old. This is very troublesome, very difficult to understand. We all know that the ways of Torah, darchecha darchei noam, the ways of Torah are so pleasant, are so warm, are so embracing. Why is it that the Talmudic source of a boy becoming a man, an adult, is deduced from a barbaric, seemingly barbaric event? It had to happen. Shechem was chayiv misa, but there's no other place in the Torah where we can learn out that a child becomes a man. Rather, from this story, the Talmud, the Gemara in Seita Yudalit Amud Aleph says that the Torah begins with chesed, with kindness, that God made for Adam and Eve.
close. It ends with kindness. The God buried Moses. The whole Torah is chesed. The world is created on kindness. And the only story where we can learn out that a person is a man by Jewish law is from a story that speaks about killing the entire city of Shechem. How could this be? The Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memory gives a brilliant answer. The Rebbe says that when there is a little girl crying, there's no political capital. She's just a little girl. Most people would say, why do we have to endanger ourselves? Why do we have to go out of our way to help this little girl? In the big scheme of things, will it really make a difference? No. The Torah teaches us. Shimon and Levi became men. They became adults when they were prepared to risk their lives and save that little girl. Our Dennis Mendelson, our wonderful friend, he cared about people who others would look the other way. Josh mentioned the Tree of Life, the school. It was an alternative school. There were people there who, not necessarily, unfortunately, people would really go out of their way and really care. But Dennis was a proud Jew. Dennis had a heart and he had a soul. And when there was a student at the Tree of Life, and this is amazing, it wasn't just his teaching career, everything he did was with the neshama, with the soul. Dennis's Hebrew name is Daniel. If you look in the book of Daniel, there are 3 times it says, Ish Chamudis, a beloved man. The only person, the whole Tanakh, it says 3 times, Ish Chamudis, a cherished, beloved man. I submit that Dennis was Ish Chamudis, a cherished man with his family. He gave and gave and gave and never stopped giving. He was Ish Chamudis with his friends. We have Steve Skilkin, someone who grew up with him, and Stephanie at the JCC. They speak in glowing terms, and Ronnie Blank, about how Dennis was always there. He never had fear. He was a tower diver. He got a scholarship at The Ohio State University for diving. There was no fear. He was committed to helping his friends. He was committed to doing the right thing. And finally, Ish Chamudis, the 3rd time, when it came to his students. If there is someone who in pain is tutvei, it's painful, it's difficult. It's not the child's problem. The kid's different. What do you want from me? No. Dennis Mendelson, our beloved Daniel Yitzchak ben Gershon, the child's pain became his pain. Shimon and Levi only became adults when they were prepared to risk their lives and sacrifice everything to fight for that little girl, that little Dinah taken captive. My friends, the Rambam writes very clearly, V'achai yitin el liboy, the living will take heed. Nebuch, 78 glorious years. Now, just like energy can never be destroyed, it changes of form. So too, it's up to us. Dennis's neshama, his soul is intact. It's changed its form. But we have to become like Dennis, like Ish Chamudis, a cherished, beloved individual who isn't just interested in saying, I tried my best, but he'll go out of his way. He'll take that student at tree of life. He'll take that student at Columbus Public School and he'll paint something, he'll draw something. He'll take that employee who is so mad that he was fired and he'll show compassion. He'll show love. That is our Dennis Mendelson. That is Ish Chamudos. Not just for his family once, not just for his business associates, his friends, but Ish Chamudos for his students. I just want to conclude. There's a famous Gemara, and the Gemara says that Rabbi Yehuda Hanossi, every Friday night he came back after he was nifta to make Kiddush for his family. Rabbi Kiva Eger asked the question, how could it possibly be he has no chiyuvim? You know, Kiddush from Friday night is a chiyuv min ha-Torah. You have to make Kiddush Friday night. How can he exempt his family if he's an Olam HaEmes? And Rabbi Kiva Eger gives a tremendous chiddush, a tremendous answer. He says, Rabbi Yehuda Hanossi, Rebbe, is alive. Because life means making an impact. Some people roam this world. They breathe, they talk, they do business, they interact with others, but there's no life. There's no meaning. There's no purpose. And some people, some people like our precious Dennis, that even when Nebuch, even when he's buried, his kinderlach, his grandchildren, his friends, they'll think to themselves, what would Dennis want me to do now? And that is real life. And that lasts forever. The Eibusher should welcome, Hashem should welcome Dennis into Gan Eden, and we should have no more tsar, no more pain, and Hashem should have Rachmanis and bless his family in the fullest measure.
Please rise for the Kilmalei Rachamim. Kilmalei Rachamim, Shoichein Vameromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei HaShechina, B'Ma'alos Kedoshim Utarim Kazor Rakia Masirim, Es Nishmas Daniel Yitzchak Ben Gershon, Shalach Liolamo, Vav Ur Shanach Misbalulim Alas Karas Nishmaso, Began Eden Tei Menuchaso, Lochem al Rachamim, Yasireu v'Seser Kanafav li'olamim, Bitzror Chayim es Nishmaso, Adonai Yonachal Aso, Yanuch v'Shalom al Mishkavo, v'Noimar, Amen. You may be seated. Just to announce, the burial is at the Young Israel section of Mount Olive Cemetery. We'll go straight from here to the cemetery. The shiva will be at the home of the Mendelsons, which is 2202 Acacia Park Drive, 5th floor, apartment 2509. Just to explain, when you pull into their complex and after you go through the guard letting you in, it's the first building on the left. You go inside the building and press the button. I guess someone will buzz you in. Just remind yourself it's the 5th floor, but it's apartment 2509. So it's not 509, it's 2509. It's on the 5th floor. Come out of the elevator, make a right, go down the hall, and turn to the right. There will be no minyanim at the Shiva home. The family, the Avelim will be coming to Shul Kaddish. The hours are as follows: starting tonight, 6:30 to 8:30. Tomorrow through Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., and Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. for the afternoon? You done for the afternoon?
That's it. Like, who's on? Shut the thingy? The what? The live stream?